Да, я, собственно, перехожу на заявленный русский язык.
And let me now stick to Russian, as I said earlier. And I would like to speak about backbone connectivity between Russia and CIS, and I would like to speak about market agents and the general situation in the market. First of all, I would like to speak about Comnews company. We are information group, which is for 20 years already present in this market, and I am proud to be as a head of this group. We are in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and also we have our office in Astana as Comnews Central Asia. We are focusing on telecommunication, IT, applied technology markets. And we review this market in three dimensions. We are publishers. We publish safecomnews.ru, which on a regular basis provides our review reports, interviews, and other interesting content on the business situation in these markets. Also, we are focusing on research of this market, and also we have a number of business events, and we had Comnews Central Asia event, which took place in May this year. And once we're talking about traffic and transit traffic in particular, you know about this submarine cable map, which American telegeography company published for many, many years. Here we have all submerged cables up to 9 or 99% of all intercontinental traffic falls into these submerged cables, which totals up to 550 submerged cable systems, which this American company reflects on its report. And you see, Russia is a white spot here, which is quite logic, because and Eurasia in general is a white spot because there are no submerged cables there. But globally, that makes no sense because, after all, this map is about transit, and Eurasia is very special in terms of interlinks between these cables. And instead of this white spots on this map, it would be logical to add lines connecting the submerged cables through surface cables. And here is the missing link. With the help of Comnews, for many years we produced these trunk lines, but actually these are surface lines, and they link Asia and Europe through Russia. And of course, there are other routes, and we heard about them, like submerged route through Caspian Sea or southern Kazakhstan trunk line. But now we see the Russian map, and of course here we have competition in this market. What we can say about this surface route? As of 2022, the transit traffic between Asia Pacific and Europe via Russia, it reached about 7 terabytes per second, or 9% of total traffic between Asia Pacific and Europe. And you can judge whether it is big or small. There is a strategy of Russian Federation Development by 2035 paper, where Russian government said that by 2035, the volume of Asia-Europe transit traffic through Russia should reach 280 terabit per second, or 40 times higher versus 2022. That is a very ambitious target, to say the least. And since 2022, once Russia became part of wars and other political adventures, then the situation changed. And from 2023, Chinese operators at 1.22 terabits per second as transit capacity via Russian territory. So we can calculate how much it will be totally once we calculate 2 terabytes add per year.
An important caveat that looking at this image, you might think that Russia is laden with cables, but in fact, these are the networks of different operators. But this is not the cables per se. These are the networks of different operators. So it can be one cable with 48 operators. I'm just randomly taking this number. And we are more concerned here with connectivity rather than physical infrastructure. So, I mean, you're a professional, so I don't know if I need to talk about this, but let me still mention that we are comparing different routes and trying to figure out the round trip delay that Alexander Semyaka mentioned in his previous presentation. And the route that is more popular in terms of crossing the two oceans, the Pacific and Atlantic, and the US area. That route has the highest volume of traffic, and actually it's long, and it has the longest round trip delay of 310 milliseconds. The next route, that is kind of second to first be in terms of popularity, that goes across Singapore, across Hindustan, through Suez Channel to Europe. The delay is 80 milliseconds, and the onshore kind of dry route through Russia has about 145 milliseconds for Trans-Russia. You can see the globe from the top, right, from looking at it at the northern pole. And so it would be kind of a bird's eye view, but it will have to be a bird that flies very high. So the closer to the pole, the shorter, and this is the connection between Europe and Asia, and the shortest route goes through the bottom of Arctic Sea. Actually, there were a lot of approaches, but this route doesn't exist yet. That is why it's a dotted line or marching ants. But this would be the most wonderful route in terms of round-trip delay, and the delay will be 90 milliseconds only. And the Russian operator, when arguing why the route is better, and on top of using the argument of a shorter delay, he says it's going to be an offshore one. I'm sorry, it's onshore, and that is why, should there be any emergencies or some other situations, fixing it will be very easy. I mean, you remember the situation in Thailand, the earthquake in Thailand that destroyed the cables and actually disconnected internet for up to 2 weeks. And of course, the Russian operators will charge some significant premium, and it's probably an explanation why, with this kind of wonderful route and with a short, very short round trip delay, only 10% of traffic goes through Russia. So, and sometimes it was up to 40%, I mean, only, and people chose the longer route, but it's cheaper nevertheless, through the Europe and US and so on. So here's a table of the main players, and who uses the trunk lines and the busways in Russia. So Rostelecom has 500,000 kilometers, MTS has 288,000 kilometers, Wimpelcom and Beeline. So you see that on top of the national operator, Rostelecom, they from 2 to 4, we have the mobile phone operators who are very active in trunk line transit market, and you can read every single. There are some niche players. There is another dozen of them, but their lines are between 8 to 15,000 kilometers. Physical lines I'm talking about. Okay, there was the very first presentation of our session about the mad routes sometimes that get chosen by the networks, like outgoing and inbound. Actually, packages go from Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan not to each other, but actually go through Gangkong and Frankfurt. So we see that Russia and Kazakhstan has more than sufficient number of transboundary joins and nodes where optic lines of the two countries' operators get connected. So direct interaction, direct peering, direct exchange, data exchange is possible. And why the operators allow or create traffic across difficult loops or difficult routes is quite interesting. It might have to do with the prices or might have to do with some engineering glitches. So since we're in Kazakhstan, let me focus on this as well. Let me talk about the joins. Let me talk about the crossing points, or how and where operators kind of cross. You see the largest Russian players who have crossing points with Kazakh Telecom, with the Kazakh players. So there are 4 on Rostelecom with 3 operators on this side. I mean, on Kazakh side, Kazakh Telecom, Juson Mobile, and Kazakhstan, and TNS Plus, and Beeline. I mean, Beeline Russia, this is not a Beeline Kazakhstan. These are 2 different companies, so they are not sister companies, although they have same name, same logo. And Beeline is Wimpelcom that bifurcated, so it has 6 crossings, 6 crossing points, and with the 4 kind of connectors on this side, Kazakh Telecom, Juice Mobile, TNS Plus, and Trust Telecom, which is Russian company. So with all 4 trunk line players of Kazakhstan, the capacity actually is not disclosed by anyone except Megaphone. Megaphone gave us a number, and they said that Uralsk crossing point has 1 terabyte per second, and Abulaev has 100 gigabytes per second. So when we look at the others, we can see that at least there are 10 terabytes per second is the transit capacity that's available, and the operators do not have any technical obstacles to enhancing the traffic between the 2 countries. So there might be some engineering related issues or finances or politics, but otherwise, I mean, they don't have the capacity there. So on top of this, there are some other small size operators like Megacom, Zoomer, Transneft Telecom, and others, as you can see here. Okay, why we need to pay attention to the competition, and why we need to actually be very vigilant. And this is so this is what I think we should be worried about. And next slide will speak about the ones I shouldn't worry about, right? So we have the TIA Next, the Trans-Europe-Asia backbone. And the idea is not just to come up with another backbone from east to west, having connected China and Europe. In this case, the operator of this backbone is Atlas, who are trying to do the developing business. It's very similar to creating a business center. Although this is the daughter company of Rostelecom, but they plan to build a physical infrastructure and then either sell the optic fiber or maybe rent it out, kind of lease it. So this whole cable system will have almost 12,000 kilometers of physical length, total length. So there will be 96 fibers. Well, at least that's what I say. The Moscow-Vladivostok connection, that's not China yet. The round trip delay will be less than